Mm.
I'm gonna do this video. I'm gonna put it in my YouTube channel so everyone's gonna see you.
Okay.
I know, it's exciting, right?
Okay.
Alright, I had a comment, and it's a kind of comment that I've gotten a lot before from people. Usually if someone brings it up, it's kind of it's like a half-interested thing. Like, they'll say it casually, but they don't seem like they're super interested, so I don't address it.
Okay.
But a guy who has followed my channel for a bit, he watches a lot of my different types of videos, named Mike Burk. He had asked a pretty well thought out question that essentially boiled down to knowing why we're in Taiwan, life here, stuff like that. So although I can't remember every single exact question he asked without looking at it, without going back and trying to read the comment, I figured that we could just generally address the whole Taiwan thing.
Okay.
And if I can figure out this gimbal and get us centered, it'd be a lot better. But so I'm just going to ask you basic questions that I've been asked before,
Okay.
and then we'll put it on YouTube and we'll see if anybody cares. But
Okay.
so for people who live in either the United Kingdom or anywhere in Europe or in the US, basically in the Western world,
Mm-hmm.
when they just generally ask a vague question like, what's it like in Taiwan, or why do you live in Taiwan, what would you tell them?
Well, I mean, other than the fact that I'm Taiwanese, so
That's
Taiwan. But why we moved back to Taiwan was because I was away for maybe a decade, and we met and we had Liam, and it just kind of feels like back then it just kind of felt like it's time to come home. So then I lured you back with me,
Okay,
yeah, so that's kind of
fair enough.
that's kind of why we came back.
I've tried saying that to people before. Just basically, I gotta tell you, as a total side note, I'm hating this gimbal. It sucks. Like, it's stable video, but you can't really use it effectively without the app, and the app sucks.
Yeah.
Like, everything's complicated, and it doesn't let me use my wide-angle camera, so the closest I can get is to use the selfie camera, which isn't super wide, and the quality's lower.
Oh.
So I've got my arm all the way out here, and my shoulder's getting tired. We have a long walk ahead of us. Shoulder's getting tired, and I keep having a problem with my head drifting out of frame, or switching hands, and you can't see me at all. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to first just hit stop on this. I'm going to put the gimbal away. I'm just going to hold the phone out old school style, like I've been doing for years for YouTube, because that seems to work better. It's more reliable.
Okay.
So to clarify, we met in the US.
Yeah.
But you had already been there for nearly a decade.
Yeah.
And then after we had Liam, you started feeling homesick. So it was like, yeah, let's go back to Taiwan.
Right.
And initially we were talking about it being short term.
Right.
Then once we were here, we kept extending it until, we just never left. So that comes to the next question, which comes up, which is, what's it like living in Taiwan? Which, that's a loaded question. Like, that covers so many different topics. So to answer in whichever way you choose to, when someone who lives in the Western world, whether it's somewhere in Europe or somewhere in the States, is asking what Taiwan is like, what it's like living here, what would you say?
It's like to put it in the way, like, for Westerners that they would understand, it's like living in the country where you have Trader Joe's, you have Costco, and you have Target and Walmart all in one spot. And everything is so easy access, and everything is so, it's chill, and it's welcoming. It's nice.
So you're saying that we live in Taiwan because there's Trader Joe's and Walmart?
No, it's because Taiwan is like a place like that. It has literally everything, and it's so convenient. Everything is so, food is so fresh. I want seafood, I just have to drive less than 30 minutes, and then we're at a harbor. I want steak, and then there's like freshly cut steak, you know, and vegetable. It's just like literally how you put it. Anything I want, I have immediate access of it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is the quality aspect. I think in the Western world, people have been very disconnected from their environment, whether intentionally or unintentionally. So, for example, people eat steak, but it changes so many hands before it gets to them. Yeah. Whereas here, whether we want pork or beef or fish or anything else, we can go to the traditional market
straight from the butcher,
and we actually see the animal there.
Yeah.
And they'll cut it up right in front of us. Yeah. It's about as fresh and direct as you can get without butchering it yourself.
Right.
Is there anything else, like when people say, what do you like about Taiwan, or what's your favorite thing about life in Taiwan, what do you say?
It's so convenient.
Well, you already said that.
I know. What do I like about Taiwan? That should be a question for you, because I like it because this is where I'm from. Right. So, of course, I like it, you know?
I like the fact that everybody here is friendly. Like, that was actually a big cultural adjustment for me, was when you've never lived in a place like this. Because it's one thing to visit a place, it's another thing to actually live there day in and day out, you know, with any country. And having lived here and adjusted, I know that I think most people don't realize, I don't know, how do I say it? People don't know what their neighborhood or what their country or city or their culture looks like to outsiders. To them, it's just normal, so they don't think about it. They don't consider it. So if someone says, for example, this country, for example, seems very hostile or they're very unfriendly, the person from that place is very likely to disagree because they've never thought of it that way. They've never thought, like, on a daily basis how it's unfriendly. To them, it's just normal. Right. But I think that's one thing that really stood out to me was growing up in the States. And this is also speaking from hindsight. At the time, I wouldn't have said it, but looking back, hindsight being 2020, I'd say that it seemed much more dangerous. There was more crime. People are much more hostile. People seem much more sensitive, much more easily offended. Mm-hmm. You look at the wrong person the wrong way. You say the wrong thing to the wrong guy at the wrong time. Or even sometimes you don't do anything wrong at all. Sometimes that's the whole thing, is sometimes I remember just walking down the street. That was like a normal part of my life, is walking to or from school or just walking down the street. If you saw somebody on the other side of the street, or you saw someone hanging out in the front yard, and they started looking at you, your shoulders started tightening up, like, uh-oh, might have a problem, you know? Yeah. Like, if somebody even looked at you, it typically meant something not good. Because in Western culture, staring is very rude and very taboo. So if someone is openly just staring at you, it's usually because there's about to be a problem, or there's already a problem. So when I came to Taiwan, if you remember, like the first month I was here, first year, but really the first 1 or 2 months, I feel so bad because I was a dick to everybody. Like, I didn't understand the concept of people being genuinely friendly, like thoroughly, and having no bad intentions. There were no ulterior motive. Nobody was plotting against me. Like, we would go out to eat and we'd sit in a restaurant, and we might be in a neighborhood where the people who live in that neighborhood have literally never seen a foreigner before. Yeah. I've met people at that time who said I was the first foreigner they ever met. Yes. In real life. So, coming from a culture where it's very homogenous, everybody's the same more or less, you know? And then suddenly you see what might as well be, you know, an elf or something. You see a white dude who not only is he a completely different race, you know, nationality, whatever, but even the way I was dressed, the tattoos, the way I was built, having background in powerlifting. Yeah. the look on my face that I always had, kind of a permanent scowl, you know. I draw a lot of attention. So we'd be in that restaurant. I remember that restaurant.
Yeah.
Right off of, actually off the road near where we got married.
Right.
And as we sat there, my shoulders were tight because I could feel everybody staring at me. And as I started looking around, I saw people at other tables just kind of looking at me. And they didn't mean anything by it. They were just being friendly. They were curious, like, oh, hey, a foreigner, you know. But I'm so in that mindset of my neighborhood where I come from that I think I looked over at a guy and I said out loud, like, what the fuck are you looking at? You know, like, I'm ready to go. And now it feels so ridiculous. But at the time, I felt totally justified. Like, it's not a cultural thing. That's an everywhere thing. Fucking staring at me, got a problem? You know, like, I was fired up. But again, how I grew up, that always just seemed like a fundamental universal thing. Like, staring at somebody means you've got a problem with them. This guy's staring at me, there must be a problem. Which is just not how it is here.
No.
And now, after living here for so many years, that's one of the things I noticed is that everybody here is so friendly. Like, crime is almost non-existent. When you do hear about a crime, it typically, like, a small crime in one city will make national news. Yeah. Because more or less, like, there's just not a lot of crime. I mean, it's unusual to even be pulled over by the cops. Typically, if you're speeding or something, if you get caught in the speed camera, they'll send you the ticket in the mail. Like, cops don't even bother pulling you over.
Mm-mm. It's funny how you say, like, people are friendly, because I'm from Taiwan. I'm so used to it, so I don't feel it. But then whenever we go to the market, and they would either see you or see me, and then they'll just, like, if I'm like $50 short, $50 like US $3?
About $1.50 or so.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If 50 NT here is like $1.50 US.
Yeah, okay. And then it's either that or something very little.
You're short some money. You don't have enough money.
And then they'll just be like, oh no, don't worry, it's on the house.
Yeah.
And I was like,
well, that's the other thing is people, because we go to the same markets or we'll go to these little food stands, whatever else, if people recognize us, because like the kids or whatever,
yeah,
they'll recognize us like, oh, you've been here before. Oh yeah, you're the one with the cute kids, whatever else.
Yeah.
They'll just add something in for free.
Yeah, that lady just gave us
like fries or whatever.
And a strip of pork.
Yeah.
Because Liam.
Yeah. She sees Liam, she remembers him, like, oh yeah, he's the cute kid. Here, have this extra thing for free.
Right.
And it's totally normal. It's no big deal. It's just people are just friendly for the sake of being friendly. Why not be, you know? And when you I'm gonna cross the street.
Okay.
When I lived in the US, at the time I didn't think it was particularly hostile. I didn't think people were unfriendly. To me, I thought life was just normal. Like, this is just how life is. People are friendly, people are nice, blah, 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 blah. Sure, you have trouble sometimes, but that's everywhere, you know? And then we come here. Like I said, initially, I was being a dick. I was going being hostile. Not because that was my intention, but it's just this, it's so different here.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. It's different in a, like, you just don't expect it.
Right.
You know? And then once I got used to it and I adjusted to it, I went back to the US to visit like in 2017. And one of the things that stood out to me was like, God damn, everyone's such a fucking asshole. And I wasn't trying to be, you know, highbrow. I wasn't trying to be arrogant, but it was like everywhere I went, it was something I actively noticed. It's like, why is everyone being so shitty? Like, people are just giving shitty looks, or they have like a passive aggressive tone, or they'll be a smart ass about something. Like, all the time, for no reason, people were just hostile. And it was, I felt myself slipping back in, like almost immediately I slipped back into my old mindset of someone getting an attitude with me, and now I'm about to have to one up and be like, oh no, I'm not the fucking one, you ready to go? Like, I had not had to do that in years, and suddenly I'm slipping back into it and like, oh yeah, I forgot this is a thing. So that's a very long-winded way of saying people here just chill. Yeah. Like, genuinely, everybody, everywhere. And because the people are genuinely, as a culture, people really are just so friendly and chill and laid back, and the crime is so low, we never have to worry about the kids, ever. Like, the kids can walk down the street by themselves and are not worried. Out in public places, Like, you never have to worry, ever. Nothing's gonna happen to them. Nobody's gonna snatch them. Nobody's gonna mess with them. No weird guys are gonna talk to the kids, you know? Like, you could be a woman, a single young woman, wearing some skanky clothes, walking down a dark alley in the middle of the night and feel totally safe. Like, nothing's gonna happen to you. Like, it's not a thing here. So that thing, to me, that's what stands out more than anything else. Obviously, is this particular place, you know, Taiwan. It's called Formosa. It's a beautiful place, just stunningly beautiful, and the culture is amazing, and the food is amazing, and there's so many good things about it. But I think for me, being that I'm not from here, that's what stands out to me more than anything. Is just like, it's such an easy place to live. Everything's convenient. People are genuinely just good people. They're genuinely friendly, and there's no crime.
I think we need to clarify when we say convenient. It's like in the US, if you have like electricity bill, or if you have your phone bill, if you have whatever bill, you have to go to different places to pay for it. And you know, they might take this, they might not take that, this and that.
Or you have archaic ways. Like, there was I don't know how it is now because we don't live there now, but there was a while there where there were certain bills you could not pay online.
Yeah.
Other bills you had to pay online.
Yeah.
And depending on how old you were or where you lived, that started to be a real inconvenience of like, where do I go to pay this bill? Or who do I, you know, do I use my card for this, or do I have to mail a check, or do I have to go online, or is there a confirmation here? Like, whereas here, you can pay everything. Like, everything, every bill, whether everything from a traffic ticket to a parking ticket to your electricity bill,
and your phone
to
bill,
phone bill, to like everything.
Student loan.
Yeah, literally everything. You can go to 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And pay it.
Now, the 7-Eleven is very different from the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, convenience stores here are legitimately, like, this is where they earn the name of convenience stores, because they are like a one-stop shop for everything. You can buy
underwear,
basic clothing,
slippers,
like,
shampoo,
yeah, you can buy basic necessities, whether, you know, body wash, shampoo, soap, just personal hygiene stuff, shirts, pants, underwear, socks. You can buy actual real food, not like junk food, but you can actually like have meals, like full-on prepared food, fresh food. You can buy
vegetables. They also have like fresh produce.
That's the other thing is all of the, when you do find the vegetables and the produce, whether it's the baked sweet potatoes that are like the grilled sweet potatoes, or it's corn, or it's the fruits and vegetables, all the stuff is sourced locally.
Yeah.
So if you're getting the sweet potatoes at the 7-Eleven on the corner, there's a good chance it came from a farm somewhere in this area. Everything is locally sourced. The same way that when you go to the market to buy the meat, you know the people you're buying it from. Their farm is local. You can watch them hacking the animal up right there and giving you the exact part that you want. Even when you go to a place that's a franchise like 7-Eleven, typically it's not unusual that you know the owner of the store, and that the stuff they have in the store is locally sourced. And I mean, heck, one time I had to buy HSR tickets, the high-speed rail tickets. Yeah. And we went there to buy them because you can buy them for a little kiosk with a little machine there. And they found out that we can't use card. I think it's cash only is what it was. Yeah. Yeah. So we went to pay. It was like, oh, for this you have to use card, which is something. I'm sorry, cash, not card.
Cash.
Because Taiwan is primarily a cash-based society. Now, just in the past couple of years, it's gotten to the point where Apple Pay is getting popular.
Line Pay.
And things like that. But like most of the time we've been here, I mean, when I first got here, you couldn't even use a card at McDonald's.
Right.
Like, everything is cash.
Right.
It made it as very simple and straightforward as possible. But we're so used to now, most things you can pay, you know, Apple Pay, this, that, whatever else, that when we went to pay for the HSR tickets, the girl, who, of course, we're very familiar with, we see her all the time, she said, okay, it's this and that, and Ellie went to pay, and she said, oh, it's cash only, and we didn't have the cash. So I was like, oh, okay, we're going to go get it. And the girl's like, oh, no, I got it. And the girl took the money out of her own wallet, and she paid for the tickets with the idea that Ellie could just transfer their money later.
Which I did. I pulled out my phone. I was like,
pulled it out right there, transferred the money. Yeah. So, but that's the thing, is that would never happen in the U.S.
No,
or
that would
most
tell
other
you
places.
fuck off.
Yeah. like, oh, I don't have the money. Like, well, then you don't have the tickets. Fuck off, guy. You know, like, it's a very, because the thing is, that's the other thing is, here, nobody's really trying to scam you. There's a reputation that people think when you go to Asia, people are looking around waiting to scam you on something.
Yeah.
I've never been scammed here. And people don't, I guess it's technically could happen at a small level, very rarely. But like I've said before, when it comes to buying cameras, typically I don't even really have to look it over.
Yeah.
Because people here are so honest. They're so upfront and honest about the exact. They'll tell you where they bought it, when they bought it, all these things.
They'll even have the original boxes.
They always keep the original boxes. They'll even tell you if there's one little light, nearly microscopic scratch on the bottom of the camera next to the battery door,
they say
that you would never see.
It's not perfect.
Then they'll say, oh, it's got signs of use, and they'll put it in the post, and they'll upload a photo with the photo edited to circle that scratch. Like, you see this, you see this. When you message them about it or call them, they're like, oh, well, just so you know, it's not perfect. It has this problem. Do you know that? And then half the time, they'll even tell you after you buy it, if you change your mind because the scratch is too much of a problem, then I'll buy it back from you.
Right.
Like, people are so accommodating. So where now, again, I've gotten lazy. If I see a camera posted online and they say that it functions normally, then I'm like, then it must. I'll just buy it. Whereas ironically, in the Western world, you go to Europe or the States, and you got Craigslist scams. You got this, like, you're always expecting, if something sounds fishy, if somebody walks up to you and says, oh, hey man, I forgot my wallet, can you help me out? It's like, scam. Everything's a scam.
I forgot about Craigslist already.
Oh yeah.
Let me see.
Bug?
Yeah.
Mosquito?
Bugs.
Okay. But yeah. So, what else? What about, do you think if a lot of the people who watch my channel are actually, they're not young, because I don't do clickbait, you know, TikTok inspired bullshit. So when I look at my analytics on YouTube, it says that I think like 80 or 85% of my audience is over the age of 35.
So my age.
Yeah, well, our age, yeah. 35 or older. So, see a woman and her little kid walking by, and Ellie can just smile and wave, and I can smile and wave, and they smile and wave back, and nobody's weirded out. It's not like, oh, stranger, why are you waving at my kid? It's like, no, we're all friendly. That's the other thing. When we went to the temple the other day, that guy at the temple walked up and he saw the kids. Yeah. He saw that Wyatt was all cute, and without asking or anything, he just puts out and he starts like touching Wyatt's hair. He's like, oh, he's a cute kid, you know, hey, little guy. We're not weirded out by it. Wyatt's not weirded out. The guy doesn't feel like he's stepping, like, because that's normal here. The community, even total strangers, it feels like we're all kind of family. Like, oh, we're all from the same place. Yeah. We're all from here. We all help each other out, you know? Yeah. So, different story. But, what was I saying? Oh man, I lost my train of thought.
People who watch your videos.
Oh yeah. So, it turns out most people who watch my videos are people who don't have short attention spans and people who appreciate and understand some more nuanced subjects. Right. So they're usually 35 or older. And one question I've seen, or comment that I've seen, is people actually, they're either going to be retiring soon, or some of them already retired, and they've thought about like leaving the UK or leaving the US and coming to Taiwan, either for a visit, you know, part of a retirement, or just moving, you know, like settling down because they're kind of tired of the place they live. Things have changed too much. What do you say to the idea of somebody?
Don't do it, because you'll fall in love with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you say to people, no matter what age, if somebody's from the Western world, they're a Westerner, they don't speak Mandarin, they really don't know anything about the culture, but they're legitimately curious, and they're very serious and interested in coming to this place to visit, or maybe to live for a year, you know, like a year trip or something, or if they like it longer. But what would be your response to that? Do you think it's something they can do, or do you think it's a good idea?
Yeah, well, with Taiwan, you can have like a 90-day stay, which is 3 months, with like landing visa.
Yeah, most countries have landing visa, so you don't have to apply for anything at all. You just,
So just
book a
come,
ticket and land, and they'll stamp the passport. Like, yeah,
Right.
you're open for 90 days, do whatever you want.
Yeah, and so if someone is really looking into knowing more about Taiwan, that could be a start. You come for 90 days and then you go about and you see about, and like keep an open mind. Like there's some things here in Taiwan you're just kind of like yikes, but don't let that stop you. Oh, just have an open mind first. Like you, when you first came, you've heard of stinky tofu,
Right.
but you've never tried it. But
Never
you
even seen
tried
it.
Right.
Never saw it, never smelled it.
And also, what was that rice blood thing,
Rice blood, and then
duck blood thing?
and chicken feet,
That
or any of the feet that people eat here.
right.
Yeah.
And so
People also, like your mom sucks the marrow out of bones like a straw.
right,
Your dad, I saw him frying up and eating the pig's face.
right.
Like,
Torch the
It's-
pig face first,
yeah,
and then
very much a nothing goes to waste type of tradition here as far as like the food goes. So it sounds, if you're a Westerner, it sounds gross at first, but that's one of the things I can say is people here are like culinary masters. The best food I've ever tasted in my life in any country, any continent, has been in Taiwan. And ironically enough, the best Western food I've ever had in my life has been here in Taiwan. The best burgers, the best steaks, the best pizza is locally made.
What is your favorite Taiwanese food?
Hot pot, without a doubt. But that's what I was saying before too, is that I think it's just part of the culture, Asian culture in general, because you see it in Japan, you see it in China, you see it in a lot of Asian countries throughout their history, is the idea of the apprentice. The apprentice wanting to become a master, right? So for hundreds and even thousands of years, all throughout the history, and it's very implemented in Asian culture, is this idea that you choose something you want to do, and it's not a fling. You take it seriously. You dedicate your life to it,
Yeah.
and you try to absolutely perfect it. So when we first got here, our first little apartment was on the corner of a little back street, very small street, and at the end of that street, at the opposite corner, was a little burger place called Encore.
Oh,
Exactly. Young couple, maybe late 20s, early 30s at the time. But they had actually spent several years traveling the world, not randomly. They had very specific itinerary. They were going to specific countries for specific amounts of time, specific city, a certain culinary school, or a certain place to learn, to try to master how to make this, to try to master how to do that. Like, they wanted to really go to these Western countries and go to the top schools or the top chefs in those countries and learn from the best, like how to do Western food right. And then after studying and spending money and traveling for years, they came back to Taiwan and they started doing it on their own here and setting up, making sure they could get a hold of the best quality ingredients, making sure that they could do a workflow that worked out
yeah.
for both quality and convenience.
They did.
And then when it's all said and done, you go in, and it's a cute little restaurant, little burger place. It's not expensive. It's just buying a burger.
Right.
But you see it, and it looks like a work of art. It looks like something from an advertisement.
That patty was like this.
Oh
big.
yeah, big, thick. I think they did the buns themselves. Everything. And you take a bite, and it just lights up your senses. Like, holy shit, this is the most phenomenal burger I've ever had in my life, right here in Taiwan. But that's the kind of same thing with steak, pizza, anything. You go to an Italian restaurant locally that's owned by Taiwanese people, it's the best Italian food you've ever had. It's incredible. And people don't want to hear that, I know. But I tell my buddy Ed, who lives in New York, he's born and raised in Brooklyn, when I tell him the best pizza I've ever had in my life is here in Taiwan, he loses his cool. As a New Yorker, he can't stand it. Then again, when I tell him that me and her liked going to Chicago, When we lived in the States, we would take trips to Chicago and visit Chinatown. We'd go and get some Chicago deep dish pizza.
Yeah.
He would lose his mind because that ain't pizza. That's a pie and da 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 da. And
it's so wrong.
so I know that everybody wants to like have their local pride, and I get it. I know that if you go to Italy, there's gonna be phenomenal Italian food. But I'm saying, like, here they're culinary masters. Seriously, even something as simple as rice. You've never seen something so simple as rice have so many varieties.
Yeah.
It be prepared in so many different ways. You could have 20 different dishes that are all types of rice, and they don't taste anything like each other. It feels like you're eating a 20-course meal.
Even like with purple rice, you can make it like sticky, so it's sticky purple rice, and then you can also make it sticky sweet, like sweet sticky purple rice, or salty sweet purple rice. And or you can make it non-sticky, so it's just like regular cooked rice, and then you can make it sweet, or you can make it into a dessert. You add rice bowl in it.
If she starts talking about all the rice options, we'll be here for a few hours. Like it's But one reason why I brought that up is because you hear about things like stinky tofu, or you hear about eating this various types like chicken feet, or you hear about bone marrow or brain, or eating fish eyes, or various other things, and it just, you think to yourself, oh my God, I would never, there's no way. Chicken butt, rice, there's not rice, there's blood pudding, literally pudding made from blood. There's also rice blood, which is kind of like a brownie, but it's made from rice and coagulated blood. Sometimes it's duck blood, sometimes it's pig blood. But it's actually delicious, like legitimately. As a poor white boy from the Midwest who grew up not like eating, it was a good night if I had Kraft macaroni and cheese, right? Gas station hot dogs were my jam. So I did not grow up with a very sophisticated palate when it came to food, and yet I can tell you that this stuff here is legitimately, like, it sounds weird, but it's delicious. It's so good.
Sometimes, like, we're together for so long, so sometimes when I'm eating something, and then you would be like, oh my God, that's so good. Like, what is that? 肉燥饭, 卤肉饭, braised pork rice. You're like, oh my God, it's so good. And to me, it's just like, but this is like...
Yeah, this is worker food.
This is like when I'm at the end of the month, when I'm running low on cash. And like,
well, that's the other thing, is like, so much of the real traditional food here is not expensive at all. The most expensive food here is when they're making Western food. Because it usually requires them ordering like very high-end, only the best of the best ingredients that are specific to Western food. Like we have a friend who, it's Ryder's dad, Ken. They own the cookie shop, bakery, and I went back to see how they do the process, and he had these big 25-kilo blocks of butter that he imports from, I think, Sweden or something. Like, only the best butter. Like, that's how they are here. So that kind of stuff, although it's not expensive to buy here, it's actually more expensive than the traditional food. So all the traditional food here is just made with basic, simple, local ingredients, cheap stuff, you know, stuff they grow here. And it's so good. It's so delicious. There's so many different types of flavor and texture, but it's cheap. And because it's so cheap, people here don't think of it as being special.
You can buy it for $1 US.
Yeah, or less. Like,
if you see those morning breakfast food truck, you can buy it for, sometimes because it's for workers, you'll usually see it at the industrial park on the way in or something. A big box of it, it's probably sometimes 25 NT dollars or only 30, which is less than $1. Right.
Yeah, less than $1 US. And that's the thing, is when we talk about this cheap food, we just call it worker food. And the reason why is because all the laborers who just need something that's convenient and fast and cheap will eat it. And that when you say worker food, the idea is this is not fancy, it's not special. You're only getting because it's cheap. It doesn't, for local people, it doesn't hold a special idea in their mind of like being particularly good. But as a foreigner who didn't grow up with it, that's sometimes my favorite stuff to get. Like, oh my God, can you get me duck rice?
Yes.
Oh my God, can you get me the braised pork rice? Or things like, hot pot or the meat buns or whatever else. Like, so much of that stuff.
Yeah, also the meat buns are good.
Everything is good here. I've never had bad food here.
It's also good.
It's all good. But that's the other thing is the cost of living here is so cheap. There are some things that are more expensive. Like when you buy a car, it's going to be more expensive in Taiwan because there's import fees attached to it.
Yeah.
Also, because it's an island, it's a small island, there is limited land. And as the population grows, that land becomes more important. So buying property is very expensive in Taiwan. However, aside from buying a car or buying property, I think like everything else by Western standards is impossibly cheap.
Right.
Like grocery bills are cheap, electricity bills are cheap, food is cheap. Insurance is cheap. Our phone bills are cheap. Like I've got, I changed my plan recently, but traditionally I've had like unlimited everything on my phone.
Yeah.
Like everything's unlimited, 5G, like everything. Yeah. I don't need Wi-Fi because I can just get, and hotspot, that's the other thing, is doing hotspot, using my phone to connect my computer or a tablet anywhere. All that stuff is not, those are not upgraded. They don't cost extra. They're just, it's a package. It's just your phone service. Yeah. And I was getting unlimited everything with great connection all over the country. And it wasn't even a contract. I just paid month by month if I wanted to. Yeah. And it was like equivalent to $16 or $17 a month.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And same thing, internet bill, cheap. Everything here is just again, cost of living is super cheap. Food is cheap. It's one of those things that, again, when we talk about visiting another country, she gets excited by the idea of, oh, we're going to visit someplace. I immediately get daunted, like, oh my God, the prices though. Like it's one thing to have to buy a ticket to go to one of these places, but getting a hotel in one of these Western countries is so much more expensive than it is here. Yeah. And typically not as nice. And buying food, just even trying to buy cheap food, you're not going to eat as well, and it's going to be a lot more expensive. Transportation, like paying for a taxi cab or public transit, is going to be typically less convenient and more expensive outside of Taiwan. Yeah. Public transit here is super cheap. Like everything
less
here.
Less than $1 to ride from our house to in the city.
Well, they don't know how far that is, but.
Oh. Well.
But yeah, you could, everything from like, they have HSR, which is the high-speed rail, which is basically a train that travels at 300 kilometers an hour, to the MRT, which is like a train at lower speeds around the city. You have taxi cabs, you have U-bikes, you have the city bus, you have all sorts of options, and it's all cheap. Like, city bus, if you're traveling less than 8 kilometers, then it's free. Yeah. And even over that, it's like pennies. It's a fraction of anything per kilometer. If you ride a scooter that's 150 cc's or below, then you don't pay any taxes on it. There's no fuel tax, there's no plate tax, there's no nothing. And of course, it's super good on gas anyway, and parking is either cheap or free. It's just, this is a very easy place to live. Cost of living is low. The weather is good year round. The
Especially
food,
in Taichung.
Yeah, the mountains protect us here from a lot of the worst of it. Yeah. The food is the best you'll ever have, and it's cheap. People are friendly. There's no crime. Like, just 100% all around. Like it's not that I'm trying to be biased, but I've been to a lot of places, and this really is my favorite place. Like I've never been to a place that offers so much of a total package, or does things just to the standard that Taiwan does. Because the other thing is, like, when I was growing up, you didn't ride the bus. I mean, I was white trash, but I still didn't ride the bus because that was me trying to have some sense of pride or some sense of like self-worth. Was like, well, I might be trash, but I'm not trash enough to ride the bus. You know, I would walk everywhere. But part of it was that the bus in the States is gross, you know? It smells like piss. There's always a junkie on there. It's late. It's a nasty experience.
I remember when I first told you, I was like, oh, we're going to ride the bus. The look you have on your face. Yeah. I was like, oh, me and Liam are going to take the bus. And you're like,
no, you're not.
I was like,
yeah.
Now we love.
Now we all ride the bus as a family thing, just for fun. Because again, here it's a totally different thing. The bus is always on time.
Yeah.
The buses are spotless and clean, well maintained, nice, air conditioned, laid out well. Everyone there is friendly on the bus. You know, the bus stops are very nice.
Yeah.
Again, there's dedicated bus lanes that nobody else is allowed to drive in to ensure that they can get to where they need to get to on time all the time. So even something as simple as the bus, which is also, again, if it's short distances, like below 8 kilometers, it's free. And yet it's actually a very nice experience. And there are so many buses that go so many places around the clock. You're never waiting more than 5 minutes for a bus. And you can ride a bus that'll basically take you anywhere. Yeah. So again, if you're a foreigner coming here for a visit or to live for a year or whatever else it is, like, you kind of don't have to worry about getting a license or transportation. Like there's always a way to get around. Even taxi cabs, drivers always dress well. You know, they dress up, they have uniforms, they're very polite. And
some cabs you can also pay with Easy Card.
Yeah. And they're cheap too. Like I think the minimum price for a cab is something ridiculously cheap. And then even when we very rarely ride short enough at the minimum, but even when we have to ride a cab to go across town, we end up paying like $3.
Something like that.
Yeah. $3, maybe $4. If it's a really expensive city like Taipei, and it's an expensive area, like by Taipei 101, we might pay closer to $5.
Something.
So it's nice. It's also, it's kind of, initially her whole thing was trying to get me to stay here, and now I like this place more than she does. She always wants to leave and go somewhere else, and I'm always trying to be like, whoa, let's just maybe just stay here some more. It's pretty great here.
I'm not trying to leave. I just want to see other places. I will come back. I come back. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I want to be.
Do we need to go to 7-Eleven?
I don't have my wallet, but.
Oh, I don't have mine either.
Yeah. But you should show them. Do a next one.
Well.
You should do one of 7-Eleven.
There it is over there. If this video does well, if anyone watches it and they care about seeing more Taiwan stuff, because I used to do little vlogs around Taiwan.
You did one at the traditional market.
I did one at the traditional market with you, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
But if people have specific things they want to see, like just day-to-day life, I can make little short dedicated videos just for those things. Like here's the process of paying bills, and there's a dog on the scooter. A dog on the scooter. Again, another common sight. People treat their pets here
like they're
like babies, like push them around in strollers and everything else. And the same way that everybody here rides a scooter, everybody owns a scooter. It's most common to pick up kids from school on scooters because it's crowded and it's easy and fast and convenient. You also see dogs and cats on scooters. And again, you would think, oh, how do you train them to do such a thing? But when you've been putting them on there since they were puppies or kittens, they just kind of figure it out. You see them sitting on the back seat, balancing themselves with no special equipment, no problem. Or you see them sitting on the little floorboard by the person's legs with their head hanging out, enjoying the wind. And it's just, you see it every day.
Taiwanese people treat them so well. They'll even custom made like a little side cart or a little puppy helmet or like puppy raincoat.
Oh man, I saw a guy when I was on my Bergman coming back actually from our around Taiwan trip. I saw a guy on a red plate bike. It was a big maxi scooter. I think it might have been like a 650 Bergman. And he had that thing decked out. You could tell he traveled a lot. And he had his dog on there with him. And his dog had its own little jacket, its own little helmet, its own little goggles. Yeah. Big old smile on its face. And I had to use my right hand to control the throttle, but I so badly wanted to let go of the throttle and dig my camera out so I could take a picture. Like, you can tell that it's not only is his dog like the scooter, but you can tell that he travels with his dog on that scooter everywhere. It had its own riding gear. A lot of misconceptions about Taiwan.
Yeah.
I remember people in the States, when I said I'm coming to Taiwan, it's like they didn't, at that time, they don't even know what Taiwan is. I would say, I'm going to Taiwan. They're like, yeah, it's cool. Hey man, enjoy Thailand. I'm like, not the same place. Or I would tell people, when I was back in the States visiting, like, I've been living in Taiwan for a few years. They're like, oh yeah, did you ever eat dog? I'm like, dude,
oh my God,
people
yeah.
treat dogs better than children. Like, no, that's not a thing there. Yeah. Anyway, we're back home now, so it's been fun. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.